Do you think a lot of indie filmmakers lack patience and they want to go from making a little short film to Avengers?
I think that sometimes there are stories of filmmakers and directors and writers who just seemingly come out of nowhere and suddenly they are the world's big hit. And I think a lot of us, myself included, will sometimes look at those people and go like, what did they, but you don't know the circumstances in which that person arrived. They might have been working for 10 years doing little things, and now suddenly this is their big moment, right? They might have had an uncle who is a studio head or an aunt or someone there are a lot of scenarios. And so I think that we sometimes look at those things and try to project, as is human nature, that thing on ourselves. We're like, that should be me. I'm so much more talented than that person. But the way they got there is not the way you got there. Those are two different things. My journey is so much different than anybody else's, and so is anybody else's from mine. The thing about interviews like this, or anything that's about filmmaking, is it is subjective based on my experience. That does not mean it is the ultimate gospel on film. It's my experience.
Sure.
Yours might be different, and that's totally fine. So the reason we get impatient is because we're projecting what we think we should be ours based on the experiences that are not ours. So it's impossible, I think, for you to get anywhere if you're focused on X person is where I should be. It's a waste of your time. Be focused on what you do, because your voice is different than my voice, which is different than anyone else's. We all, if we've been working long enough, have figured out what we want to say, and what you say will always be different than what X person is doing because it's yours. So do that. Don't do them. They've done themselves. It's time for you to do you.
Any advice on developing a character?
To me, developing a character is a very collaborative process. So, if it's a script that you wrote, or if it's a script that was written for you or you purchased or whatever it is, there are other entities involved. It's not just about I'm the director and here's the character. It's about saying, here's what the writer wrote. If I did not write the script, and this is what the writer's intention is for that character within the arc of the story. Once I get involved, I usually have some notes. There's only one or two scripts I think I've ever read that I would say leave it as is. There's only one that I'm developing right now that I thought was perfect. Doesn't happen very often when you read a lot of scripts. But if you have those notes, it's then working with the writer to see how you want to steer the story. And for me, with theme being a huge thing, it's about thinking about characters within the context of theme. So now the writer and I have, come to something that we're satisfied with. It's not my job to be a dictator to the screenwriter. They're creative as well. So it's really about, again, meshing sensibilities, making sure that if the screenplay is one thing, I want it to be something slightly different, conveying that to the writer in a way that's respectful of their work, but also finding something that you all agree on. Because I don't think it's good if you have a situation where the writer and the director both hate the thing they're working on, right? You want to keep everybody happy, as long as it's within the totality of what the vision should be. But that's one of the things you should decide before you say yes to a project. And then you're done with your notes, right? You've figured out what you want to modify. Then you're presenting it to actors who are going to have their own take entirely. And so if I'm going to start developing a character with the actor, it's now a new entity in its own right. This character that I have developed thematically on page with the writer is not necessarily going to be the same one that is portrayed on film with the actor, because they're going to bring their own experiences and ideas about what it means to perform that character, their motivations, their tics, their insecurities, their confidences. They bring that to the character. And sometimes that's different than what you intended. I find usually it's better. You just have to make sure as a director that whatever that character becomes with the actor and in collaboration with the actor is still in the intent of what you wrote and within the general character arc of the story, how that affects other characters when those choices are made, and how those as an ensemble create the entire theme that I want to deliver in the film.